Alright, everyone, so this is the video for that third essay, and after you've read it, I'm sure you've seen that um, this is the one with the lowest score of the three, um, and it is, I think, a perfect example of an essay that somebody would write if they didn't really do much research and they were just trying to write the essay from the top of their head. And this, what I'm about to show you, would be the grade for somebody that does that, and that does it pretty well because the essay itself is written pretty well. The grammar's well, um, but the argument is not very strong. So let me go over this rubric. All right, so first the claim. The claim is a 3. So even though the essay itself is not very good, the claim is a 3. And the reason for that is because this entire essay does stick to the argument, which is that students need to use laptops in class and that the use of pens, pencils, and paper is outdated. So it does a good job of staying consistent with the argument and of using the entire essay to support that argument. So this would be a 2 or a 1 if the essay was to go on tangents and if it was not consistent with supporting the argument. So that is why it is a 3, even though um, it is not supported very strongly. And that is the reason why the evidence is a 2. It does not really support much of the argument. So if we look back here, this part where it says where it has the parentheses, this is the evidence. Uh, so study breaks, that's where they found this information. So that is their evidence, and the other one is this one right here. So that's their second one. And if we go to this rubric, first of all, then to get a 4, you need to have 3 pieces of evidence. So since it is only using 2, it cannot be a 4. So it has to be between a 3 or 2 or a 1. And the reason why it is not a 3 is because uh, of this adequate part and this thoroughly supports the claim. The evidence here is relevant, but it doesn't thoroughly support the argument. Uh, it's just it's just helpful, but it doesn't really do much to take it to another level. So that's why it is a 2. Now the elaboration is a 2 in here. And I was about to give it a 1, but the reason why it gets a 2 and not a 1 is because, for example, in here, this sentence, which is the evidence, speaks about how the use of tablets and technology is part of a daily life for many of the younger generations. And after this evidence is added to the essay, this part right here is explaining that students would benefit most if the use of tablets would be implemented into their daily school because it's part of their daily life. So because it explains this piece of evidence, that's why it is a 2. But it is not a 3 because it only does it with this one piece of evidence and it does not do it with a second piece of evidence. And because the third is non-existent, it also doesn't do it with the third piece of evidence. So that is why the elaboration is a 2. And the conclusions drawn is also a 2. Um, and it is not a 3 or a 4 because, as I was explaining with the very first essay, um, this kind of does explain why it matters that we use laptops in schools because it's part of the new world we're going into. But it doesn't really explain that much, and it doesn't really. The essay as a whole doesn't really do much to support why it matters that students use the laptops in class, and that is because it does not have enough information. Because at the very end, it does a very good job of explaining why the computers are needed, but because it is not supported in here in the body paragraphs, the conclusions drawn stays at a 2. It stays at a 2 for that one reason. Okay, so you need to make sure uh, that you also give enough information so that your conclusions drawn is a 3 or a 4. And lastly, organization. It is a 3 because It is separated into paragraphs. An introduction. There's an introduction. There is a conclusion. Um, but it is not a 4 because this is supposed to be a 5 paragraph essay, so that automatically takes it away from the 4. And then conventions, it is a 3 because it does have pretty much all spelling correctly. Grammar is for the most part correct, but it is not a 4 because the language in here could be a little bit more academic, and by that I mean using more vocabulary words with regards to this topic. So that's why it is a 3. Okay.